Moduls Rīga piedāvā.
Naja, Lament is not necessarily an album. Lament, we were commissioned to write a composition, a performance to be performed in Dijksmuide in Flandern in November 2014 to commemorate the beginning of the First World War. So the CD or the vinyl version of that is basically just the detritus, the document of that work. It's not really a Einstürzende Neubauten album as such. We did a lot of research. We had two scientific researchers working for us, working for me, trying to find materials that are probably not that well known, that we could somehow use within that performance. I was not trying to understand anything. That's not. I was not trying to make a didactic record. I'm a member of the very strange tribe of the avant-garde entertainer. I am trying to make things that are at the same time, let's say, artistically satisfying as they are entertaining. I do not want to put anything boring into the world. And certainly if you're going to start working with a subject like the First World War, then there are two things that you can do wrong in that way. One way is trying to make it to give this whole thing a message, and the other thing is to make the whole thing a kind of a didactic, documentary kind of thing. Both of these things I'm trying to avoid it. I do think and count it as possible that you can make a piece of art that also contains a message, yeah. But the more one-dimensional that message becomes, the less it will be a piece of art in that sense. So, whatever somebody gets out of this is beyond my control, really. And if I make it controllable, then I certainly will not make a piece of art. In that particular piece, the really Niki telegrams is a duet between me and Alexander Hacke in the band, whereby Alexander Hacke plays Tsar Nikolai and I play his nephew, the Kaiser of Preußen, Willy. And the text of the duet is 100% Niki and Willy. It is not the exact thing that they wrote. I have reduced it, and I have sometimes changed the order of the sentences, but I have not really written anything in that. So that's the original text that they send each other. I don't think why that should be ironic. It's maybe ironic that I put an auto-tune on the voices. That's probably ironic, but how do you describe that as being ironic? The irony is in that, yeah. It's not something that I want to comment on, really. I have made my comments about the First World War, or war in general, by making and creating this particular performance, and there are lyrics in there that might answer your question, but I don't think I am here to make political comments or to analyze the state of the world. I have once again no way of measuring what somebody understands. If I play a record to my brother, I don't know how much he understands. There's certainly a problem in language, like if there is a language that's not understandable, then obviously you reduce the fun that you can have out of that. But I believe that if you do something like that, there should be several levels that contain enough for you to get some kind of fun out of it, but or some kind of satisfaction. That's maybe the better word. But I would not put a piece like der Beginn des Weltkrieges 1914 dargestellt unter Zuhilfenahme eines Tierstimmenimitators on a non-German speaking audience, because it doesn't contain anything else except language, hardly anything. So that would be a bit difficult. But for other things, I don't think, if first of all, there is not that much German on the record. And there's also some Flemish on the record, so obviously when I perform it in Dijksmuide in Flandern, they will be happy that I actually do sing in Flemish. But I think and the majority of it can be understood in the sense of language. Yeah, there is not really a barrier there. So in the sense of what we're doing there on stage, I believe you can certainly get some satisfaction out of that, if that's equaling understanding. Well, if people are dissatisfied in an audience, they usually make that known. Yeah. In Dijksmuide, I think we will probably have less of a problem there. The major problem for rather an audience in the subsequent tour being dissatisfied is that they don't know what we're going to do. That's of course good for if I sit here and I'm able to say that, but I have to make them known beforehand that we're not playing a normal Neubauten concert. Otherwise they're going to stand in there and yell for songs that we're certainly not going to play. And then they will be dissatisfied, yeah. So I'm trying to get as much information across of the fact that we're playing a tour called Lament and not a Neubauten tour. Well, I will only know that once I have actually played this performance. I have not, this is only, to me, this is only a recording of a possibility. Once we have actually played that on the 8th of November, and I know that the whole thing that I conceived there as a whole sequence of things does actually work, then I will be satisfied, yeah. If it doesn't work, I will be a bit pissed off. And both is possible. For this particular performance, we have not tried to find very much new ways of doing things, building new instruments. It would have eaten up too much time. Normally, when we make a Neubauten album, it is the majority of the time goes to that type of research to find new ways of working with new materials, or find a new strategy to get something out of something that has not been done and heard before. If you would have applied this way of working on this particular subject, then we would have run out of time quickly. So we actually relied very much on our experience to make this record, to make this, compose this performance. Linguists and the musicologists starting in 1914 have made Edison phonograph wax cylinder recordings of the prisoner of war in Prussia, in the different prisoner of war camps. And the musicologist obviously for musical research, and the linguists did it for language research. One of their these cylinder recordings are digitized and are part of the Humboldt University in Berlin. And to my knowledge, they are the only kind of document existing from that time, because there simply were no recording possibilities back then. This is the first one. By the end of the First World War, you already have the record, the flat one, the rotating one, the Erwin Berliner. But in the beginning of the First World War, you have nothing, and all kinds of sounds that you know from documentaries or film documents are fake. There is no recording of the actual war whatsoever. These recordings of the prisoners of war are in Berlin, and we had access to them. And they do recite the story of the prodigal son from the New Testament in various different languages, some of them already extinct. And we combined them with a version of a Flemish Renaissance composer's motet of the Pater Peccavi, the prodigal son. And that composer happens to be buried in Dijksmuide. So I couldn't help to get these two things together. There were two. it was too much of a possibility to combine two disparate things that just happened to share the same theme. Well, I didn't have choice. This is the only thing I had. So, and choice is also a very important factor in that composition, because if you work with recordings like that, they are, first of all, they're not audiophile recordings, they're terrible. By that measurement. I mean, sometimes you can't understand anything, even if you would understand the language. But it would be absolutely without respect to judge these recordings. To say, I prefer this one, or I like that voice better, or this one crackles too much. So I used them all. And I used them beyond control. So they are actually getting played by the members of the band in their hands, with small speaker cubes that fit in the hand, and we can release them and catch them and hold them again. And I hope that it becomes obvious in the performance also that we treat the whole thing with respect, as something fragile, like a little bird or a raw egg. So that it was important to me that we don't just turn them into a sound effect on that composition, and that we're not going to say, okay, well, this one should be louder, or that one, we take this one off because it crackles too much. So it is what it is. We choose the performance that altogether had the best flow, but we did not make any decision on what to put in and where to put it in. They don't speak anything else. There is no, they speak, there's a whole collection of prisoners of war speaking the prodigal son. And there are 2-3 snippets of some reciting poems. And there are the so-called Werke sentences, which are linguist sentences just to see how, how particular things are pronounced in different languages. That's the only material there is. But the Renaissance composer Clemens non Papa only wrote a motet called Pater Peccavi, not one called the Werke sentences. I don't think it's about contents. It's not about what the story is about in the New Testament, especially. I mean, there is probably two languages that I could understand in the Prisoners of War. The rest of it is so far away from me that I wouldn't be able to understand any of it anyway. So it doesn't make no difference to most listeners if this is a prodigal son or not. Einstürzen und Neubauten is always very much based on material, on a lot of objects, on things on stage. And at some point I felt the need that I should do something where I have nothing on stage, where I rely only on my voice. So I do things between pseudo-scientific experiments and stand-up comedy. That's what I do. And all that is just voice. I am perfectly happy if an artist can support the mind of the people. I don't really need to change them. I do not believe that songs have changed the opinion of anyone. I think that, that songs very much have the ability of supporting what somebody already thought is the truth. So if I can support, I know very well what role music has played in my life. And I know very well that in crucial points in my life, like say when I was a teenager and was in conflict with the rest of the world, how important music was to me and how much music could support me in that. And I don't think that I would say that music has changed me for that matter. I think even, well, I don't know, I think it's the best thing to say that it's able to support. I grew up with rock music, and as a German, I also grew up with what was the German fraction of that, which is what is nowadays usually considered to be krautrock. That was very much what I listened to when I grew up. Yeah. No, but that would be another question, like why certain people don't listen to the popular things and why certain people don't. I don't know. I never really got very much out of pop music, and that hasn't really changed ever. I think I went very, very quickly from the early Pink Floyd to Can. I can hear the neon lights up there. You hear them?
Yeah.
Yeah, see? I noticed that. If you work with music in a sense that you go to a recording studio and you spend 14 hours there in a day for a whole week, for a whole month, and you're concentrated on listening to music, or you're concentrated on producing that music and listening back to that music, you leave there, you get into a taxi, do you want to hear music? No. It's the first thing that I say when I get in, it's like, could you please turn off the music? Because I don't know. And then it's, should I change to classic FM? No, just turn it off. It's not. I love music, obviously, but it is. I have to have quite a distance from the music that I have just made and that I've just produced to be able to listen to something again. I used to be in the bad seats, and that meant I made basically a record with the bad seats and a tour with the bad seats every year, and the record was Neubauten and the tour was Neubauten, and that was basically eating up like 3/4 of my time. So nowadays that I'm not working with Nick anymore, I have quite a bit more time. So I have time to do. Neubauten are not very active. I wouldn't pronounce them dead, but they're not very active, very simply. So we have made this performance, and we're going to perform that, and after that we're going to disband again, and everybody's going their single ways. So I am able to follow whatever my fancy is. I'm in the fortunate situation that I am a professional musician, but that I don't need to do anything, which is more Schönbergian, you know. Kunst kommt nicht von Können, Kunst kommt von Müssen. So if I feel I have to do something, then I probably do it.